But now that I've got the recording going, I'm really excited for today. I know I sent you the text message that I was going to unveil some new announcements, some new programs that we're working on, and give you guys a chance to win a trip, which I am tremendously excited to share. I do want to make sure that you guys have something you can take some notes with, and we're going to jump right on in here. Also, by the way, I sent you an email, and this is going to be uploaded on the website as well, but I sent you the PR script, and we're going to reference that at the end, so you want to make sure you have access to that or a copy of it handy. Okay, so first things first, looking at the Facebook Jumpstart updates, we got them up on the board. Looks like just about everybody has gotten the first modules of the Facebook Jumpstart watched, and it looks like almost everybody has gotten the profile audit, which is excellent. We definitely have an area of opportunity for friending. So first thing I want you to put in your notes is that the target is to have 2,000 Facebook friends by the time you finish finals. Really, that's kind of a lie. The target is, I believe it's 2,000 by April 15th, I believe, because I think it's April 15th that we start actually messaging them. Thank you for the confirmation, Kayla. Mm-hmm. So it's 2,000 friends by April 15th. And I know we covered this last week, and I rewrote the syllabus to adjust our new time that we're meeting, and I also added all of the Facebook Jumpstart checkpoints to the syllabus, so I'll email that out and I'll put a copy of it up on the website as well. And also, if you're in the Leadership Academy group me, Kate posted these there as well. But the first checkpoint is to have 500 friends added to your list by March 1st, right? So the level of aggressiveness there is what we're looking for. Kayla, actually, I'm going to put you in the spot and ask you, because I don't know the answer. Ballpark, how many friend requests do you have to send out to get someone to accept?
The number definitely changes after you get more friends. The hardest part is getting start and stuff, because when you have like 14 mutual friends, it's kind of easy to get a friend request back. And I kind of have more mutual friends this year to start, I guess, because I still had some Carroll County people in there, and they were.
Just give me an ish number for these guys.
I would say last year,
especially as they're starting out, I can give them what to expect.
Honestly, to get like a good number back, I would say I try to send out a couple hundred, like no less than 500 a day.
Okay.
No less, closer to 1,000.
So. Cool. So just as a quick note. It does snowball, right? One of the keys to getting people to accept your friend request is having mutual friends. And the more mutual friends you have, the faster and more likely they are to accept your friend request. So when you're first starting out, you have to send out more requests, and it takes a little bit of time to get people to actually respond to those. But as you're doing it, it goes faster and the ratio gets a lot higher. But I don't know how well you can hear Kayla, but her target is to send out 500 requests a day. And that's a combination of herself manually hitting the add friend button and having that automated software that she shared do it for you, right? It's a combination of the two. But just keep in mind, it doesn't take a lot of time. I think most people do like 30 minutes a day on the days that they're doing it. Most people, I think, are doing it 4 days a week, 30 minutes. So it's not a huge time investment, but it's not something where you can just pray and hope and wish and then end up with 500 friends either. You know what I mean? Yeah, don't make wishes.
I promise it won't.
Yeah. And then just a reminder, and again, if you don't have this written down, I want you guys to start for the branch managers and the district managers. You're going to have to start in your own territory, obviously. For the assistant managers, though, I want you guys to start with your own high school. And I want you to start with the classes of 2018 and 2019. Okay, 2018 and 2019. So the current seniors and the graduating class of last year. Start with your own high school graduating class. And then as we get that done, then I'll assign you guys different high schools I want you to target and max preps and that stuff. But for right now, your own high school class and your success ratio should be relatively high, because I assume that you would already have a group of mutual friends to start with. Second thing, I have an updated website for all of you, and I would like you to go here now for me, please, if you haven't already. It's Facebook Jumpstart .org.
I
That's a great question.
think it is.
Okay, hopefully you can read that on the board.
Yes, it is. What's that?
Actually, just curious, you can nod your head or shake your head, but does that show up the correct way, or is it written backwards for you?
Now it shows up the correct way.
Okay, cool. When I see it on my screen, it's backwards, so I'm glad. But anyway, so fbjumpstart.org. Just FYI, when I went to this website 2 weeks ago when we first got the Facebook Jumpstart program started, for whatever reason, the website wasn't working or the link wasn't connected or whatever. So I just told you guys to join the Facebook Jumpstart group and get started. But this is the website that they want you on. And there's a couple of cool things. They have all of the modules loaded. So as they get added, they'll unlock them for you. So week by week, I think the goal is to do one per week. That I'm not 100% confident or certain of, but I believe it's like one a week. But I know they've done 1 and 2 so far, and 3 is coming. So that may or may not be accurate. But they're also going to ask you on a weekly basis to add in there how many friends you now have on your list. That's going to help us track it. And also they will have contests and prizes and awards that you can win for hitting the checkpoints. So that's having them entered on there is also going to how you're going to get credit for the thing. So fbjumpstart.org. And Kayla, to answer your question, I saw that you were having some trouble with the website, or the Facebook group rather. But if you go on the website, super duper easy. So if you guys would, I'll give you a second, but just pop on facebookjumpstart.org now and just register really quick. You don't need to do anything else, but just get yourself registered if you haven't already, just so that is squared away. And for you guys on teleconference, if you'd be so kind, just give me a thumbs up when you've got it, just so I know. And the people that are here, I can see them, obviously.
20 F9.
Well, I registered, I'm pretty sure, John, but the submitting progress is what I don't know if I'm 100% on.
Cool. I can go there and share my screen. By the way, when I ask you for the office number, it's 20F9.
Yeah, I'm registered. Using it, the functions is what I'm kind of stumped on.
Yeah, I'll share my screen really quick here. So I'm on the website right now. Jumpstarter sign up is where I want you guys to register. View leaderboards. You can see the top people across the entire company, which is pretty cool. She looks like for branch managers, and Kayla, if you want some competition, Kayla's leading the division with 400 right now. But the top 2 branches are over 2,000 already, which bodes well for where they're going to be by the time we get to May or April. Northeast region is leading right now. That is exciting with 20,000 total, and the top 20 assistant managers. So we have 5 of them with over 1,000 already. Jade, she just needs to freaking get to $2,000 at this point. But if you're competitive, that shows you where the top people are. And then for submit activity, you're just going to put in your email address. And then on the next screen, it'll just ask you how many Facebook friends have you added so far, and you put in your number. So Charlie, does that answer what you were asking?
Yeah, no, I thought it did it like more internally than that. But yeah, no, that makes sense.
Submit activity. And then obviously view lessons is where you're going to see all of the modules and get access to those. So I'm going to unshare my screen, but that is what the website looks like.
Does it matter what email you put in, or can you put in any email?
Just make sure you use the same one every time. Cool. Do you guys need another minute to get that done, or are we set?
Yeah, I'm almost done. I just need to change the email.
Cool.
I'm registered.
Beautiful. By the way, when we get into our team builder
I'm done.
portion, thank you. When we get into our team builder portion of today, you're going to see why we're being so obsessed and so intense about this Facebook Jumpstart program. I do want to cover a couple of miscellaneous things before that, though. Okay, number one, I want to make sure that all of you guys have in your calendar the summer kickoff conference on April 12th and 13th. It's a Friday, Saturday. And we want every single manager to be there. Okay, so if you're an assistant manager, a sales manager, branch manager, district manager, anything ending in manager, We want you at the summer kickoff. That is where you officially get your promotion. And we're going to give you the final management training there, right? And then you secure your spot. So when you get to the summer kickoff, your spot is secured. Just FYI, for those of you who live out of the state, we're going to fly you in. And I was emailing with the region staff today. I'll have the details not later than our next Leadership Academy. But for those of you that live out of state, there will be some form of region sponsorship for your flight, very similar to what we did for Olean last semester. So the company will pay for part of your flight. I will have details on that as soon as I have details on that. Yeah. A miscellaneous thing. This is something that we've been talking with our assistant managers here about a couple times over the past few weeks, and I wanted to share it with all of you guys. So it's relevant today and tomorrow for everybody who's currently working as an assistant manager, and it will be relevant for all of you guys when you're back from the summer. One thing that we do in the summertime is we have a daily call-in. So for those of you that just got started in the month of January, you experienced this as a sales rep. When we had you call in the morning between 9 and 10:30 a.m., you would check in, we'd get your schedule, we'd give you some updates and announcements and reminders, and then you go out and do your calls. So we always have a manager doing the morning check-in, and usually it's either the district manager or the sales manager, right? We typically have just one of two people doing the morning check-in, but then throughout the rest of the day, typically me and the sales manager are in the office and we're booked up. So we always have somebody on the manager hotline. So right now our management staff is Kayla Harris and Landon and Kevin and Nick. And we always have someone on a rotating basis who's on the manager hotline. And in the summertime, especially when those guys go out to run their own offices, many of you who are just starting out will be taking their current spot, right, as they pursue their next opportunity, yeah? So I wanted to talk just very briefly about when you have a shift on the manager hotline, what does that look like? Okay, and I'm going to ask you to take some notes here. So the first thing I'm going to show you, and I'll share my screen and pull up this website here. Actually, I'll show you two things because I like you guys. Okay, so the first website that we use is Vonage.com. This is our phone service. And you log in when you're an assistant manager officially. I'll give you the login and the password. And whoever is the manager on duty, it says right down here, call forwarding. And right now it's forwarded to Kevin Garcia. So if he's on the hotline, and he was earlier today because he's running training this week, he's on the hotline. Now, when his shift is over, he can forward that to any other manager. Does that make sense? And then obviously I put in it's all fives I just wrote in there. But you type in a phone number, and then whoever calls the office phone, that person's phone number will ring. So that's how you end your shift, is by forwarding it to the next person. And then if you're starting your shift, you want to first off just pop on Vonage and make sure that your phone is the one that's going to ring, right? What we always ask is that the key concept is that you want to talk to every rep every day. Okay, so that should be in your notes. Every rep, every day. There's a concept that if you're not influencing your people, somebody else is. And whoever's influencing them is not encouraging them to work their hardest and give their best effort and do things that they don't feel like doing and make more phone calls and do more demos and do things that make them money, right? Usually, and you guys can relate to this yourselves, usually their parents are telling them that they should go easier. They should slow down, take a break. You've earned it. And while that certainly feels good in the moment, it ain't going to help you hit any of your goals, right? Usually their friends are encouraging them, hey, take the day off. Call out early, go in late, just call in sick, come see a movie, come hang out, come do stuff that's going to cost you money and not help you make any, right? So if we're not influencing them, someone else is. So we got to make sure we talk to every rep every day. The only exception to that is if a rep has a planned day off and we have a note saying, hey, on Wednesday, this person is off, we don't call them obviously on their day off. But aside from that, we're calling them. So we have the second website, webpdi.com. Actually, the only part you really need is webpdi.com, that first bit. And when you're an assistant manager, you're automatically given an account for this website. So again, for those of you that are currently assistant managers, you're already familiar. For those of you that will be assistant managers, also branches and districts, you'll have your own. And what's really nice and really cool is it will pull up all of your people automatically, right? I like to tell stories about how I'm old and you don't understand how we used to walk uphill 15 miles in the snow to get to high school, barefoot both ways, right? In all seriousness, when I was a new manager, we had a physical binder. And when people finished training, we had a paper sheet that had all this information. And we had to write a paper sheet for every rep, which doesn't sound like a big deal. But in the summertime, 30 people to your team, you've already run a long day of training. Then you got to handle the PRs and you got to do this. It was a pain in the ass. And we had a physical spreadsheet that we would use to track their demos in, which, by the way, we should have been using that up until recently, but weren't. So WebPDI is going to help us execute the systems that were already in place at a higher level too. But what it does is it automatically creates a spreadsheet for all your people. If I hit this little plus sign, it tells me their phone number, their home phone, their email, their rep number, the day that they finished training. They have a sample kit. Let's see, tell me how many demos they have today, or for the week rather, how many demos they've done, how many sales they've had, CPO, referrals, and then it tells me their total career stats, which is awesome. So I get a super sweet snapshot of where they are. And then I can put notes in here of either what that person's talked to me about or what's happening with them. I often will put their schedule in there so I know what they're working around. And that helps so that if a rep tells me something, I put the notes in WebPDI and every single manager on the team can see it, right? What pisses off the rep to the high heavens is when we don't take notes, right? And they talk to me and they're like, yeah, I'm off on Wednesday. And we don't put a note in Wednesday. And then we're calling them on Wednesday like, dude, you're a no-call, no-show. They're like, I'm off. I talked to someone about this, right? If you've ever worked a retail job and had that experience, it's hella annoying. So taking notes in there helps us all stay on the same page. They have a conversation with one of us and they've had a conversation with all of us, which is nice. It also groups people into sections, and these change depending on the season, right? But right now we have our fast start, which are the people that just finished training. Our current team are all the reps that are alive, and that's about all that can be said for them. In the summertime, we have a key staff, which are the people that are more than alive. In fact, all of you guys, whether you knew it or not, were in the key staff section over the summertime and over the winter break, right? The key staffers are our key players. And then as we progress into the year, we have our Leadership Academy. And for this season, I split it into two groups. We have our Leadership Academy local, which are the people that are physically in the area. And then we have our Leadership Academy out of area, which are the people that are away at college but doing the training to earn a manager spot. And then we have our kits back, which are people that just need to fight them and get their sample kit returned, is what that is. We'll cover that a different day. But anyway, I wanted you to see that. And here's what a manager hotline shift should look like. I can stop the screen share here. So when you start a manager hotline shift, you should start by making sure that the phone is forwarded to you, right? And generally the person who ended the last shift will end by forwarding it on, but I always check and make sure, because what you don't want is if you have a fellow assistant manager that they're supposed to be off for the day and their phone's getting blown up because A, the reps aren't really getting managed, and B, it's pissing off the assistant manager who's supposed to be off. So I like to end my shift by forwarding it, and then I start my shift by confirming that it is forwarded, right? And then I log into WebPDI and I look through the team roster. I look at the notes to see who's working. I look at the notes to see what conversations have been had. And we put anything in there that's relevant, like this person's going on vacation from these dates. Their goal this week is to sell this much. This is the area that they need help with to get better. So I look at the notes and we have a script. There's a script for every day of the week that we cover. And the PDI, I will say this for the current managers, The PDI scripts are excellent, but by themselves, they're not enough, right? Because every rep is different. Every rep is in a different place. They've got different strengths, different weaknesses, different things that they're working on or struggling with. And the notes in Web PDI tell you how to cater your conversation to the rep. Does that make sense? Right? So I always read the script. That's like the general, every person needs this. But part of the conversation also needs to be looking at the notes and giving that individual what they need. Does that make sense? So that people don't feel like they're being herded like cattle, you know? And then a lot of times, and for those of you in training for summer promotions, I hope this isn't like too much or going over your head, but for the current managers, a lot of times we have conversations where we talk about the reps and what they need, but then I don't know that we have the appropriate conversations with them when we get them on the phone. So that's just something to be aware of, right? So make an outgoing call to every rep, check in, make sure we have their targets. And the purpose of the check-in call is to confirm their schedule and drive demos. Okay, to confirm their schedule and drive demos. If you want to put this in your notes, the objective is to create one demo per person per day. One demo per person per day. And what that means is I look at Web PDI, and right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 10 active sales reps on the team. So if I'm on the manager hotline for the day, how many demos do I need to create for the day? 10. 10. And it's not like I need one from each person, it's I need 10 total. So if I get one person who books 5, then I just need 5 more, right? But it should be 1 per day per rep. And actually, go back to screen sharing. And one thing to note, and this is something that we've been talking about on the manager team for a while, but we need to get better at executing on this, is when the reps come in for the meetings to get their demo goal. So right here, this column, DG, if I hover over it, does it do anything for me? Yeah, there it is. So it says Tuesday, demo goal. So I know for Perry, his demo goal today is 5. And the last time we checked, he had 1. So when we talk to Perry on the manager hotline, what's one of the things that we need to talk to him about?
Ask him what happened.
I wouldn't say what happened and why didn't you get it. That feels...
Yeah, I like that, but like...
So what's the conversation?
What techniques are you using now to book demos?
Yeah, you wanted 5. You have 1. What's the plan? That's it. Does that make sense? And then he knows what he needs to do, but we have to inspire the action. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right. I know tomorrow he wanted 2 and he's got 0. He Thursday wanted 4, he's got 0. Friday he wanted 1, he's got 0. Right. So he's someone that we need to make sure has a plan and is taking action to hit his target. Kayla asked, what if they say they can't get to 5? Punch them. And then help them. Right? Punch them and then help them. I know that was sassy. You work with them. Right? There's only 2 reasons that a rep, or excuse me, not 2 reasons. There's only 2 things that a rep needs to have to be able to get their appointments. And Kayla, I'm going to ask this to you since you asked the question. What 2 things does a rep need to be able to hit their target? You're muted, so if you're talking, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, welcome. Hello, Sunshine.
Okay. I can't keep my mic on too long, but 2 things they might need are
They need to have something to be able to book 5 appointments. What do they need to have?
make sure they have their referrals.
Almost. I wouldn't say referrals because referrals implies strangers, and rookie reps don't call strangers, but they need to have people to call, right? And on average, they need to have 10 times as many numbers as they want to convert into appointments, right? So if he wanted to do 50 appointments, he needs 50 numbers. And then once he has the numbers, what does he have to do?
Make the calls.
That's it. That's it. So the only reason a rep would not hit their target is if they either don't have enough people to call, which, by the way, in the PDI script, that's in the script to ask them about on Tuesday and on Wednesday, is how many people they have, and to work with them to help them get that up, knowing that that's one of the key areas, right? And then the second thing is that they need to make the calls, right? So that's why we have the do 2, set 2, do 3, set 3, do 4, set 4, do 5, set 5 program, is so that making calls is a part of their routine, right? So the system's already in place. Our job as managers isn't to create and invent a brand new program to help reps get demos. It's really to help them execute the system that's in place. Does that make sense? So that was a good question. I appreciate that. For someone like an Ishmael, we have zeros across the board. So what that tells you, and I'm looking at pretty much every rep on the team, right? Most of them have zeros. What that tells you is that at the PSP meeting, we need to look at their schedule, and it needs to be immediate. So the manager at the PSP meeting needs to have web PDI pulled up, and once they're doing the schedule checks, they're writing that in immediately, and then we're following up. If, however, it looks like this, it's Tuesday now, we have zeros across the board, I wouldn't tolerate and say, oh, well, I guess their goals are 0 for the week. No, just means the manager's dropped the ball. So if you're on the hotline, you got to fix that. You got to rectify it right away, so we know what the accurate and appropriate numbers are, so we know how to help our people. Does that make sense? All right, so I start the day by looking at web PDI. I look at the notes to see what's written for them. Ishmael has some really good ones. And then I make a round of outgoing calls to every rep to have those conversations. Then for the majority of the day, you don't need to do a whole lot. For the majority of the day, you're very simply letting them call you from their appointments, right? Now, if you notice that someone's supposed to have 5 appointments and they haven't called you for 6 hours, that should raise an alarm of some sort, right? But for the most part, they're calling you and you're just talking to them from their appointments, coaching them, helping them close deals, making sure they don't forget to get referrals, and making sure that they execute their phone time in between appointments. And then to end your shift, there's a second round of phone calls to the reps. Excuse me. And for the ones that you've been already talking to, you're essentially closing them out for the day. And then for anybody that you didn't talk to in the first call, we have a second shot to talk to them before the day is over. Does that make sense? One of the nice things when you're on the hotline is that if you're on the hotline, you don't necessarily have to be in the office, and you can do your day. You can do demos. And what I typically say is if you're doing your own demos, if you're on a demo and a rep calls you, just let it go to voicemail, and then you're just following up with people in between your own appointments. The key is not that we need to be on call 100%, but we just need to make sure we're providing that support for our people. Does that all make sense? And then the last thing is if I click right here next to their name, I have this option for LM, which means I left them a message. TT is talked to. TXT is I sent them a text. NA is it says right underneath my cursor, no answer and did not leave a voicemail. And done means they are done for the day. So you typically, if someone's off for the day, I just automatically mark them as done so I don't call. Does that make sense? All right, so that's my morning call. And then I can do the same thing and have an afternoon call. So if I left Perry a voicemail in the morning, and then I called him in the evening and I talked to him there, LM for the morning, talk to for the afternoon. Does that make sense? And then when he's done, he's done. I'm going to change those because those are not accurate right now. But either way, so that's one of the keys when you're on the hotline, just making sure you're taking good notes and using the notes that were taken to manage and lead your team. Again, for the current managers, that is really important, like today. And then for the summer managers, that'll give you a good leg up for when you start taking on hotline shifts after finals. Kevin, what was your question?
Yeah, so what does S mean right here?
Sales.
Okay, and what about R?
Click it.
Oh, it tells me.
Click the 0.
Oh, recommend. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Sweet.
fine. Thank you.
Cool. So I want to make sure I covered that with you. Second thing is I just want to talk to you about how to get the most out of Leadership Academy. Okay, and I was talking to a couple of people about this, and I'm really, really sincerely excited for what we're building and what we're putting together here. But as I've been going through the John Maxwell training, one of the things that he said that really resonated with me, he said, it's easy to pursue growth. He said, growth is always uncomfortable. Growth is always uphill. Right? He said, if you're looking for something where you can set it and forget it and let it run itself, it will always run itself into the ground. Right? It'll run itself down. But anything worthwhile is always going to be uphill because it's worthwhile. Right? And he said, it's easy when you know what you're working toward to pursue something and do things that stretch you and make things uncomfortable in cases. But when you lose sight of the big picture, when you lose sight of the vision, that's when it becomes difficult to push yourself and stretch yourself. So I just want to remind you, this summer, we're promoting Kevin Garcia to open up a district location. He'll be running a career location, hopefully finding out maybe in Jamaica, where his office will be. That is where John Tevis found out where his office would be.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was in the Dominican Republic over a frosty beverage. And Kayla is going to be opening up a branch office in Newark, Delaware. Becky's going to be opening up a branch office in Dover, Delaware. Charlie will be opening a branch office in Easton, Maryland. And then, of course, we'll have Jack Meyer as our veteran district manager and myself doing whatever I'm doing. And in total, we're going to have 6 office locations with a target of selling $2.1 million out of our district team, right? And then, of course, Landon Reeker and Nick Shields are going to be promoted to take the current crew spots, and then many of you guys, Kayla, Beth, Julian, many of you guys training to take their spots when you come home from school. As a division, some of you guys heard this at our last divisional prep, but what's really exciting is our target. Like Kate's been talking for 3 years about 10 by 10 branches and 10 districts, right? 3 years talking about it, and then it doesn't happen. And we're like, oh, well, whatever we have is fine. This year, we actually ended up with 11 by 10. That is the most managers that have ever been promoted in the DC Metro division for one summer in history. And we literally had to create new territories because we had more people trained and equipped and ready to open offices than we had places existing. And we got to do some really fun, creative things. And once Kevin finds out his territory, I'll let you guys behind the curtain, but I can't until he has his territory. Also, I don't know where Kevin's going, so don't ask me questions. I genuinely don't, but I know what some of the options are, and they're all exciting.
One question, will you miss him?
No. Random aside, when my car does voice dialing, and when I tell my car to call Carissa Godwin, it always pops up the option of Carissa Godwin or Kevin Garcia. And I don't know why, because those two names are not similar. But about it. And he was like, oh, what are you going to do? And I said, dude, when you open up your office, I'm deleting your number. Obviously, that's a joke, just to be clear for all of you guys. You're like, just done? No. But that is a weird random thing my car does. But anyway, it is really exciting for what we've got. And what's in it for you, right? To be an assistant manager in the summer. I'm going to say the money first, right? You're going to get your 20, 25, 30 plus % commission off of your personal sales. And most of us have talked about this, but if you want to jot this number down, the average assistant manager sells between 15 and 20 grand for the summer. The average assistant manager sells 15 to 20 grand for the summer. I think last year, we only had one assistant manager that sold less than 10. So 10's like that minimum. You're definitely going to sell this much. We have one competition, though, where almost every assistant manager sells 10 grand in 2 weeks, which I know that sounds crazy right now. By the time we get to it, you'll be ready for it, right? But anyway, so 10 grand in 2 weeks, at a minimum 10 grand for the summer, 15 to 20 is normal. And our top assistant managers sell 30 plus grand. And if you can just imagine what that looks like at 20, 25, 30%, the promotions that you hit, the pay raises that you get, that looks like anywhere from $2,000 to $10,000 earned just from your sales. And then you already know that assistant managers also get paid a percentage of what the office sells. It goes anywhere from 0.5% to 2% of what the office sold. And that's based on how many hours a week you're working in the office compared to how many you're working in the field, right? Our sales manager and recruiting manager can earn up to 3%, right? Depending on the schedule. Typically they're working 6, sometimes 7 days a week to earn that, right? So that's not for everybody, but in some cases 3% exists. But 2% is like for most people, the top. And I'll just tell you, if you want to range, right? The worst summer that I've ever had was $150,000. In 14 years, that is my career low. Yeah. My average summer is right around 350 grand. So 350 is pretty mediocre. And then the best summer that I've ever had is 492,000. 492,000 is my current career best. Now the target for this year is 550. We already broke a record in January. February, we broke none of the good records that we wanted to break. March, though, we're going to make a run for it. By the way, John Wasserman's office just broke a region record that has stood since 2004 for the month of February. Just FYI. But in March, we're going to try to break a record. April, we're going to try to break a record. And the goal is to build a record-breaking summer of 550 grand. You know, I'm just going to use the middle number, though. If we do 350, mediocre, 0.5% of that is, excuse me, almost $2,000. 1% of that would be 3,500. 2% of that would be 7 grand. Right, and obviously that fluctuates a little bit depending on both your percentage and what the final tally for the office is. But I wanted to mention the money first because I would say it's the least important part of the program. Right, money's great. You need the money. We've had lots of assistant managers earn 10, 15, 20 grand for a summer, and a lot of assistant managers have used that to pay for college tuition or to fund opening up a branch or a district the next year. Money's great. But I wouldn't say that's the biggest benefit, you know? I would say the biggest benefit is what it does for your resume, right? To be able to add on your resume, having all the stuff you did as a sales rep, and then a whole nother section, instead of a different job, a management position of what that would look like. And having duties, right? Most people working in retail jobs are like, oh, like trying to find fancy ways to explain how they restocked the shelves. Creative ways to explain running a cash register. I worked in a Dollar Tree. It was really hard to get creative to explain that everything's $1 and I never had to think, right? Tried, but I did not succeed in getting creative with that one. I've seen some really creative language around people telling me how they vacuumed the floors, right? Like I was responsible and maintained the cleanliness and order of the entire organization. You effing vacuumed after the place closed. Serious. I'm not knocking retail, by the way. It makes you money. But I know as an assistant manager, I was putting stuff in my resume like I led sales meetings. I personally worked with sales reps, ran meetings, ran training, coached people, and I personally created 20% of our entire office's sales through my leadership. And I could quantify that and prove it. I was able to put stuff on there like public speaking in front of groups anywhere from 2 people to my largest was 200 people as a 19-year-old college kid. Right? I was able to put stuff on there like work directly with the business owner to devise, develop, and implement a business plan and create a strategy that created over $500,000 in sales in 4 months. That's my stuff, that stuff. I don't have it, you know, I could look it up. Actually, I have my college resume saved in my computer. I could look it up right now. I'm not going to. Those were just some of the things I put on there when I was like 19 and a junior in college. Tracking with me? I would say the resume experience is huge. I would say the other thing that's huge is the personal growth. And I'll be honest with you, the personal growth is the hardest one to describe. It's the hardest one to quantify. But sincerely, our mantra last year, and it will be our mantra again this year, is becoming my best self or becoming the next best version of myself. And it's hard to explain, it's hard to quantify, but you will become a better version of yourself through the process of leading others, right? John Maxwell says you can't give what you don't have. And so in an effort to give people the training and the coaching and the stuff that they need, you will become bigger and better and badder as a natural part of the process to be able to give more, right? You'll be able to handle more adversity, and things that used to be hard don't get hard anymore, right? They're not hard anymore. One of the cool things is you actually get better at selling Cutco, right? Just the process of you teaching sales reps how to get good makes you better. I remember when I was a branch manager, I'd been a pretty decent rep. I was pretty decent. I'd sold like $25,000 when I opened up my first office. But after teaching people how to sell Cutco for 3 months, I was able to sell $10,000 in 2 weeks, right? Which before, I mean, it took me 4 months to sell my first 10,000. It took me 2 weeks to sell my next 10,000, right? So the personal growth and personal development is huge. Your confidence will grow. You're also going to get a higher level of skills. Okay, if you're familiar with this concept, there's something called soft skills and hard skills. Hard skills are what you learn in job training. Hard skills are what your college attempts to teach you. Specifically for Vector, that's things like how to network, how to build a call list, how to make phone calls, how to do a demo, how to close a sale, how to drop down. Those are the hard, tangible skills of selling Cutco. What you can't learn in a classroom and what you cannot learn in job training, I can't even teach it to you in Leadership Academy, is the soft skills. The things like being able to build a deeper relationship that goes deeper than how are you, how's the weather. The ability to work with people who are unlike you. Typically for new managers, their teams are just like them. Because the people that you connect with are just like you. Kayla's grinning because she's like, that's a little bit familiar.
No, I'm laughing because I only have girls.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Well, at least
Mm-hmm.
guys
Right? But it's a skill to be able to connect with people who are unlike yourself. And you'll learn that. You know, public speaking. By the way, public speaking is the number one fear that most people have in the world, not just America, in the world. Jerry Seinfeld has a quote that I love. He says, given the option at a funeral, most people would rather be in the casket than given the eulogy. Because public speaking is the number one fear. It outranks death, right? But Warren Buffett, the richest man in the world, maybe second richest now. I don't know if Jeff Bezos got him yet or not. They're close, right? But Warren Buffett says the number one most valuable skill that exists is public speaking. He says, I can teach anybody anything, but if I can get someone who can be a speaker, they will be highly paid. Does that make sense, right? You'll learn public speaking starting in small groups of 2 to 3, working up from there. There's more. There's more. I get fired up about this stuff. I could talk for the entire 90 minutes, but I'd rather not use our entire 90 minutes to talk about that. The point being, I know right now, school's picking up. You have homework, you have assignments, you have projects for the branch and district managers. Ooh, shit's hitting the fan, isn't it? All right, some of us were in the office crying recently. It's a lot. It's a lot. I know midterms are coming up, and Leadership Academy doesn't let off the gas, you know? And that's okay. So I just want to let you guys know that we're not going to stretch you to the point of breaking, but a rubber band is useless if it isn't stretching. The only time it adds value is when it's stretching. So we're going to stretch you. And the reason that we do it is so that you can grow into the person that you need to become to take on the job of the manager, whatever role you're playing this summer. And this summer, you will grow into the next position, right? And the last perk, and I'll end with this on Leadership Academy, is, excuse me, whatever role you're in this summer, will create future advancement opportunities for you for next year. Whether it's going from being an assistant manager to a sales manager, or an assistant manager to a branch manager, or a sales manager to a district manager, or a district manager to a pillar district manager, or whatever that may be, right? There's always future opportunities, and excelling in one tees you up for the next. So I want to give you a couple tips on how to make the most out of Leadership Academy, and this is worth taking a couple notes on. One thing I was talking to, this started with Charlie actually. So Charlie and I came up with a game plan where it was like, dude, we have some work to do. We want you to be a branch manager. By the way, props to Charlie. He was the last one that was announced as a branch manager. But he edged out. There were 5 people competing for branch manager spots. And we were literally, after all the creative stuff we did, there was only 1 spot left. And Charlie got it, which means Kate had to tell 4 people who trained and wanted to be branches that they had not earned the promotion, and they had to do a second round of Leadership Academy to earn their spot. So kudos to Charlie for earning his spot. At the same time, we had a conversation where it's like, all right, we got to make sure you're ready. So we have to increase your training intensity, right? And we came up with a game plan. And one thing that I was realizing is, Leadership Academy is awesome, but to just sit here and watch the class and then not do anything, it isn't enough all by itself. Okay, an easy example is the John Maxwell course that I'm going through. You guys have seen me share a couple of those modules. I'm watching 1 a day. I'm sad to admit that I missed 2 days, but the next day I watched 2 to make up for it. So I am on track right now. But what I do is I sit down and I consider it study time. Like even my wife was like, dude, like you're back in school. I was like, yeah, I am. Right? I'm being a student. So I sit down, quiet room, door closed, nobody's with me, watching my stuff, taking notes. And then after I take my notes, I take 15 minutes to review my notes. I highlight stuff, and I have a running list on a sheet of paper of stuff that I need to revisit. Okay. There have been a couple things that for me that John Maxwell has asked questions of me, and I'm like, ooh, oh, that one's tough. So actually, I've got a call with Earl Kelly on Friday. He's gonna work with me on some of these things. He's asking some tough questions, but I'm really working hard to implement. And I take an average of 3 to 6 pages of notes on each module. Okay. Now I'm not throwing my wife under the bus here, and do not tell her I told you this. This is confidential. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But my wife listens to John Maxwell in the car while she's driving. Right. My wife puts her cell phone in a plastic baggie and listens to John Maxwell while she's in the shower. Right. And for her, it's kind of like, oh yeah, I'll do that while I'm doing this other thing. Right. She has no notes from the John Maxwell. And I'm not saying that it's not valuable and she's getting nothing from it, but if we can be honest, how good is her retention and recollection going to be of that information? Right? It's going to be lower, And again, I'm not saying this to throw her under the bus or to speak badly of her, but just to draw a comparison, because I know it's the easy thing to do is, oh yeah, I'll tune into Leadership Academy. I'll be like laying in my bed, hanging out with my buddies, and I'll just have this in an ear. And then as soon as it's over, I'm chilling, I'm doing whatever I'm doing. And you can do it that way. But what I would recommend is that you block off this time. Like I'm going to focus. I'm going to be like I'm in class. But instead of taking a class that's required for 3 credits, I'm getting a class that's going to make me a better version of myself and create a new opportunity for the summertime. I'm not saying that you need to study and do homework, right, like a class. But I will say it's worth your time to practice the skills, right? What Charlie and I came up with, and I'm not saying this is going to be the right fit for all of you guys, but I will share it with all of you, is Charlie came up with a list where he said every week, I'm going to pick a topic, right? He and I will discuss the topic either in Leadership Academy or separate, depending on what I'm teaching that week. He's got a topic, and then he's going to watch either me or another manager execute it. I think this week, if I remember correctly, it's the interview. Is that accurate, Charlie? I'll take the silence as acceptance.
Sorry. I thought that, yeah, that's accurate. I'm doing the interview.
So he's watching me run an interview, and then he's going to practice it, and he's going to record himself doing the first half of the interview, and he's going to send me the recording so I can review it. So he and I are partnering up, right, to do the remote training. I talked to Kayla about that, and I said, hey, this is what Charlie's doing. That may not be a terrible idea. And she goes, you know what? I could see that. be in an area that I could do. She goes, honestly though, every week, that might be a lot because she's also a full-time student and she's running track and she's working out and she's an assistant manager and she's selling Cutco and she's on the events team. She goes, I don't know that I could commit to every week. But she said, if we could pick 5 or 6 and I could do 5 or 6 over the course of the next 8 to 10 weeks, right? She goes, I could manage that. So I said, cool. So the next time Kayla and I get a call, it's going to be focused on mapping out a syllabus for her. Right? I'm not saying that any of you guys have to do that. I will say it's worth your time to practice the skills that we talk about. And if you wanted to come up with something like that where you're doing like an AP or an IB level course, we can 100% do that together. The other thing that I would sincerely recommend for every single one of you is just either get a notebook that can be your management training notebook, or if you have a computer and you take notes there, have a folder dedicated to management training, and it becomes your playbook. Right? Like you got notes in there today from the manager hotline. You got notes in there next week from how to run a team meeting. You got notes in there next week for how to drive sales and create demos. And then when you come for the summer, you got your playbook to execute. Does that make sense? So those would be the 2 things I'd recommend to get the most, excuse me, out of the program. One thing I do want to talk about, and I don't know if we're going to have time at the end for the last thing I want to talk about. If we have time for it, I want to get into scheduling PRs with you, but I want to make sure I hit this. This I want you guys to take some notes on because this is a new program. For those of you who were with us at the last Divisional Leadership Academy, you heard Kate talking about like our best evers in recruiting and what our numbers have looked like recently and making a run for number 1 again, right, and increasing our numbers. And then I talked to Earl Kelly. I talked to Joel Kaczynski, who's the guy who created the Facebook Jumpstart program. And I talked to Trey Ketchum, who is the number 1 recruiter in the entire company. His office is bigger than some divisions in terms of number of people. And I was talking to all of them about what they're doing to grow their businesses and what they see as like the future. And I was asking questions about what could we do here. So we've been doing a couple masterminds over the last several weeks. And we came up with a program. Okay, and I'm really, really pumped for this program. One thing I will tell you, I don't have all the answers. I don't have every single I dotted and T crossed yet, but I want to give you an idea of what it looks like because you guys are going to be the forerunners on this, and we'll be adding new sales reps to it over the summer as well. If you're a branch or a district manager, you are this in your office, and you're going to be getting people to do it with you. Okay, so there's 5 reasons that people want to be a team builder in our organization. Number 1 is prizes. I don't know exactly what the prizes will be yet. Don't hold me to this. But I know that in Trey's office, what they're doing is when you get 2 people on the team, right? You recruit 2 of your friends, they launch, they sell Cutco, you get a $25 gift card to Chick-fil-A. Okay? You get 4 friends on the team, and you get a $150 shopping spree to the store of your choice. You get 6 friends on the team, and you get something. It's an experience, right? Like a champions night, but just for you. Okay? Something like that. $400 in prizes there. And if you get a certain number of friends on the team, there's a trip. Okay, now our trip will not be this trip because Trey's in a whole different region. We don't do the same thing as them. But you know that our last trip was to Jamaica. We're taking 3 people down there this weekend. And their trip is going to be to the Hard Rock Hotel in Cancun, Mexico. I've been there. It's pretty cool. They give you a free guitar just for showing up, which is nice. But we always do some kind of tropical destination. The location for us will be announced at the summer kickoff in April, right? So make sure you're there so you find out where we're going. But you can win the trip just for getting friends on the team and being a team builder. Okay, so that's the first one. Second one is recognition and scholarship opportunities. Once you get 3 qualified friends on the team, you start getting recognition. You become eligible for the National Silver Cup for team builders and for the Northeast Region Team Builder Scholarship. They can put an extra $100 to $1,000 in cash in your pocket on top of what we've already talked about. Number 3 is the resume experience. When you have the leadership skills and the team building skills on your resume, you become more marketable. Employers know that not only will you get the job done on your own, but you're an influencer. and you've got influence with other people, that goes a long way. And companies want and they value empire builders. Number 4 is the advancement opportunities. When you're a team builder and you're in the contention for the scholarship and the silver cup, people are watching you. Our division manager, Kate Vassy, our region manager, Earl Kelly, they look at this report every single week to see who the team builders are. So if you want to get your name in front of the higher ups, team building is the easiest and fastest way to do it. And if you're someone who aspires for more in the future, you want to get on their radar. And number 5 is building something bigger than yourself. Every successful team has big time recruiters and people who are proactive about getting the right people on board. Look at the top sports programs. The NFL, man, after a team wins the Super Bowl, those people get scouted like crazy, right? If you guys remember when the Ravens won the Super Bowl, we lost half our team, right? Because the recruiters came in saying, these are the right people. We're going to go get them. And that's how it works. The top sports teams always have recruiters looking for the best talent. And it's awesome to be at team meetings, team events, and know that you were responsible for creating opportunities and success, not just for you, but for other people as well. So we're expecting all of our managers to participate in the Team Builder program, and we're going to be recruiting new reps into the Team Builder program as well. And all it is, excuse me, is showing up 2 hours early before the PSP meeting and showing up 2 hours early before the team meeting. I said that right? PSP and team meeting. Just showing up 2 hours early and helping us schedule interviews for the week. Okay, the Facebook Jumpstart program, by the way, we're going to talk about potentially getting you guys a percentage. Every person that you recruit off of Facebook, you'll get a percentage of what they sell directly, separate from your assistant manager pay, right? So that'll be if I recruit Landon sells $10,000, I get a percentage of his $10,000 and also a percentage of the whole office. Tracking with me? I know. So we'll talk about that more. But there's a lot in it for you. And that's part of the reason that we want to be so intense with the Facebook Jumpstart program now. For the branch and district managers, this is literally how you build your office from scratch. For the assistant managers, this is how you build our team. And there's a whole lot of extra perks and bonuses and goodies in it for you to boot. Pretty cool? Beautiful. Let me pause for a moment and give you guys a chance to ask any questions that you have, because I know I've been covering an awful lot and sticking and moving. That's a lot of content for a short period of time. Let me give you guys a chance to ask any questions that you have.
So how do you decide what percentage a assistant manager gets between the 0.5% and the 2%?
Yep. It's very simply based on how many hours a week you're working in the office and what kind of work you're doing.
Okay.
Yeah. If I've got someone in my office filing copies, they're probably closer to the 0.5%. If I've got someone in my office running my office like a district manager, they're probably getting 2% plus, right? If I've got someone who's only in the office 2, maybe 3 days a week, they're probably closer to the 0.5% or 1%. If they're in the office 5 or 6 days a week, they're probably closer to the 2%. So it's a combination. What I will say is that you guys will all get the training, and the training will be the same. When we get closer to the summer kickoff, we'll start having a conversation with each of you to talk about what your particular schedule and your particular duties should look like. So I appreciate that question. Any other questions for any of Juice guys?
For the Facebook Jumpstart, when you told us to start with our own school, does it matter if it's in someone else's territory or just whatever?
Yeah, that's a good question. For you specific, Nick, and this is unique to Nick Shields because he technically lives in another district manager's office, but I've been training him for the last several months, and I like him a little bit, kind of a lot actually. And so I was like, hey, I don't want to train you for that manager. I want to train you for here and be part of our squad. So for you specifically, Nick, I want you to start with your high school, and we will direct those people to DeGogo's office. The rewards and the perks for you will be the same, but we'll give those people to DeGogo. I'm not out there to snipe his entire territory. But for everybody else, that is not relevant to you because you'll all be either in your own office or this location. So I appreciate that question. Kayla, I got your. I will definitely add you to the Facebook page. That will be done as soon as we hang up this call. In terms of making a recruitment page, I don't know what that means. So I'm interested separately from this, just for the sake of time, to hear what you're thinking. But what we really want you to do is use your own personal page so it's authentic. And then you're just creating a list. And if you go through the modules, I think you haven't done that yet. So Julian asked me the same question before he went through the modules. But one of the things you do is you create a list. So you have all of your friends. Some of them are your friends, and then some of them are Facebook Jumpstart recruits. And you can post stuff that not everybody sees, but only your Facebook Jumpstart friends see. So it's the same page, but we're not taking over your personal page, but we're also not creating a completely separate entity just for this. We want it to be an authentic, hey, I'm Kayla Durham, I'm a real human, and this is a thing. So if that may or may not have answered what you were asking, I'm happy to look at it and we can talk, but that's the general idea, just making an assumption on what you were thinking. Cool. Here's what I'd like to do to wrap up with you is I want to spend a little bit of time on PRs. Okay. And I'll tell you, last week we broached the topic. Thanks, Landon. The topic of PRs. But the honest truth is I felt like I didn't give my best for that one because we were in the process of inventing this new team builder program. I just kind of did a light unveiling of for you. And we were trying to get the Facebook Jumpstart thing started. And I was in the process of trying to figure out what's my role with scheduling PRs? What's our assistant manager's role of scheduling PRs? What's the receptionist's role of scheduling PRs? And since our last Leadership Academy, a lot of those questions have been answered and those programs have been clarified. So here's what I'll share with you. The two primary roles that a manager has in an office. The two primary roles that a manager has in an office are number one, creating recruits. Sharing the opportunity, getting the word out, building a team, because big armies beat little armies. And number two is creating demos. That is led, by the way, by the assistant managers. The assistant managers in the non-summer typically sell $500 to $1,000 a week. Assistant managers in the summer typically sell $1,000 if they're part-time sales. Some of our assistant managers sell $2,000 or $3,000 a week. But you selling Cutco is part of the job, so you creating your own demos is creating demos. And then on top of that, helping the team create demos, one demo per rep per day, right? Those are the two main duties. And if an assistant manager does those two things, they'll create between $50,000 to $60,000 for the summer. Each assistant manager can create 50 grand plus. Okay, by the way, I'll tell you, for me, I did some numbers, and for the sake of time, I'll cover the numbers at a different time. But I usually, in the past, well, I shouldn't say usually, in the past, I have not scheduled PRs myself. Okay, in the past, it wasn't even a thing. We had a receptionist team, and they did all of the PR scheduling. And then you guys already know, last year we completely eliminated the receptionist team, went to the text to schedule, and the managers didn't schedule PRs, and then we got this. And I was crunching the numbers, and I'm good at setting PRs. It's just in the past not been like my primary duty. And I was looking at the numbers, and I'll tell you guys, my target for John Godwin is to schedule 25 PRs for interviews per week. That's 5 a day, 5 days a week. If I do that, anyone want to guess how many thousands of dollars of sales that'll create?
$346,000.
No. It'll create $96,000.
Oh, you meant just for you, never mind.
Yeah, 96 grand just from me scheduling 5 PRs a day, 5 days a week. All right. For our assistant managers, we're going to ask you guys to schedule 5 PRs a day, 3 days a week. And that is part of the Team Builder program I just mentioned. It is the Facebook Jumpstart. It is coming in the 2 hours early. So it's not that you're coming in extra days. You're just coming in a couple extra hours on the days that you would be here anyway. Does that make sense? But three days a week, 5 PRs a day, that will create between 50 and 80 grand per person. We have 3 assistant managers plus me. We're already at almost $500,000 and already breaking my best summer ever just from that alone. That doesn't even include the receptionists and what they're doing. That doesn't even include everything that's not a PR. It gets dirty. So that PR skill is going to be very important. So here's what I'd like to do. We have about 10 minutes left, and I do want to use it. What I'd like to do is have you guys, if you're on teleconference, please pull up the PR script that I emailed to you, please. I'm going to ask you to role play, please, with somebody who's here. Okay, Kayla, if I can ask you, please, to take Charlie and other Kayla. Sorry, you're not other Kayla, but Kayla Durham. I'm going to ask Kayla if you can take Kayla Durham and Charlie. Landon, I'm going to ask you, please, to get Julian. And Kevin, I'm going to ask you, please, to get Nick.
Okay.
For Kayla, I'm going to ask you to stay on Zoom. And Charlie and Kayla, I'm going to ask you guys to stay on Zoom. For Julian and Nick, I'm going to ask you guys, after I prep you, disconnect from Zoom. And Landon and Kevin will call you on the phone, so you guys can do this on the phone with each other. And then if you're watching the recording, I'm going to ask you to practice this on your own at least twice. What I want you to do is take the PR script. And just as an example, Kayla, if you're calling Charlie, I would say, hey, Charlie, who's your best friend? Great. We're going to pretend that he referred you here, right? And then I would call him up like, ring, ring. Hey, Charlie, this is Kayla. I don't know if my name rings a bell, but your friend so-and-so recommended you. That wasn't the script. That was the acquaintance approach. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But you do the script pretending that Charlie got recommended and we're calling him to book an interview. Does that make sense what I'm looking for? Okay. I'm going to ask for you guys, you go first and model it for the people who haven't seen it yet, and then have them do it for you. We've only got 7 minutes left, so we probably have time for exactly 1 call each, but I'd like you guys to do that, and then we'll disconnect from there. Also, quick note before I let you go, just a reminder that this week is the Jamaica trip. I had on the syllabus that we would not have Leadership Academy, but then I realized that Jamaica is on the exact same time zone as America. So America has 4 time zones as the East Coast. So we will have Leadership Academy next week. It'll be the same time, 3:15 to 4:45. Cool. So Julian and Nick, let me have you guys disconnect, please. And Kevin and Landon will call you. And I will mute myself so that Kayla, you can talk. Actually, you can just use mine. So you can talk to these guys.
Is there a certain point we're going up to, or going through the whole thing, or
Do the whole thing.
am I just supposed to?
Just make up an interview time for this one.
Yeah, that's what I was asking.
And I'd stay on and watch.
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Okay, Kayla, who's your best friend?
So
I feel like I'm talking to myself.
Kayla's in a spot where she may
Okay.
or may not be able to use the microphone. So
Okay,
you
JK, never
tell me.
mind. All right, Charlie. Who's your best friend?
Go with Jake.
Jake? Okay, great. Easy name. Okay, ring ring.
Hello.
Hey, Charlie, my name is Kayla Harris. I work with your friend Jake at his new job. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. I'm awesome. I definitely don't want to take up too much of your time. I wanted to follow up with the text we had sent you. Jake just interviewed with us and recommended you as someone who might be a good fit for our team and might be interested in some extra work. So I definitely wanted to give you a call and tell you more about what we had available. Do you have a quick minute?
Yeah, I got a second.
All right, awesome. So we're Vector Marketing, and we've been in business since 1981. We are filling flexible schedules in entry-level customer sales and service. The starting pay rate is $18.50, and it's not based on sales. There's no door-to-door or cold calling, and we do provide training, so experience is not required. So how do you know Jake?
We hunt together.
Oh, hunt. I thought he said hug. I was like, huh? Oh, what do you guys hunt?
We hunt pheasant, a little bit of goose, a lot of duck, and then deer whenever we're bored.
Okay, awesome. Cool. Well, Jake had some nice things to say about you, so I definitely wanted to invite you in for an interview. So you can meet with one of our managers, and they can answer any questions that you have and see if we'd be a good fit to work together. While I look through my manager's schedule, can you walk me through your schedule for the next couple of days here?
Yeah, so tomorrow I got class all day. The next day I'm free until 3, and then after that I am open after 11.
Okay. So I could actually get you in on Thursday at 12. Would that work okay for you?
Yeah, that works perfect.
Okay. I just want to make sure because my manager is going to be taking time out of his schedule to meet with you. Now, I just need some quick information to confirm your interview, and I'll give you the address. First, could you spell out your last name for me?
Wait. No, yeah. Sorry, I thought I was Jake for a second. I don't know why I got it. I was like, am I myself or am I Jake? All right, Greaney. I know how to spell my last name.
All right, and then what's your email address so we can send you a confirmation?
CharlieGreaney@gmail.
All right, great. Do you have something to write down the address?
Yeah, I do.
All right, it's 1667 Crofton Center. Do you need me to spell Crofton or do you have it?
I have it.
All right, we're in Suite 6, Crofton, Maryland. The zip is 21114. It's easy to get here. We're right on the main road. Our building is called the Crofton Medical and Professional Building, and we're next to a Champion Realty. When you come in, make sure to arrive 10 to 15 minutes early and dress nice. Bring a resume if you have one, but it's not required. My name is Kayla. It was great talking to you, and we'll see you Thursday at 12.
Awesome. Can't wait. All right, my turn.
Off guard because I don't really know how to connect.
You did great. Just asking
Like,
questions
yeah,
about it.
Yeah, like, what do you want?
Yeah, just asking questions. Cool. I'm gonna start whenever you
My turn.
give Kayla Harris a call.
Who's your friend, Kayla?
Jayla.
Jayla. Kayla and Jayla.
I know, that's so ironic, right? I know, it's crazy.
All right. I'm not calling. Call. Hello?
Hi.
Hey, my name is Charlie Greaney. I work with your friend Jayla at her new job. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm definitely awesome. I just don't want to take up too much time, but I want to follow up on the text we sent you. Jayla just interviewed with us and recommended you as someone you would be a great fit for our team and might be interested in some extra work. So I definitely wanted to give you a call and tell you more about what we have available. Do you have a quick minute?
Yeah.
All right, so we are Vector Marketing. We've been in business since 1981. We fill flexible schedules in an entry-level customer sales and service. Starting pay rate's $18.50, and that's not based on sales alone. This is not door-to-door or cold calling, and we provide training so your experience will be awesome. And oh my bad, I messed up. And we do provide training, so experience is not required. So how do you know Jayla?
We've known each other almost like as long as we've been alive. I've known her since I was in kindergarten. So yeah, and we ran track together and went to the same high school together and stuff. So
Yeah, Jayla's awesome. I mean, we've had her say so much great things about you. That's why I want to definitely invite you in for an interview so we can meet you with one of our managers and they can answer any questions you have and see if we would be a great fit to work together. While I look through my manager's schedule, can you walk me through your schedule for the next couple of days so I can see what might work?
Yeah, so tomorrow I have class from 9:30 to 11:50 or 10:50. And then I'm free the rest of the day. And then the next day, I don't know.
Okay, well, the next day works perfect. We could either do an interview at 12 noon, or if like 3 p.m. would work a little better, we could get you in, no problem.
3 will work, great.
Perfect. All right, now I need a quick information to confirm your interview. You have something to take the address down with?
Yep.
Okay, so the address is 1800 Vector Lane. And then can you spell out your your last name so I can put it in on the schedule?
Yep, HARRIS.
All right. And then what's a good email address so I can send the confirmation?
Harris, so my last name, KA97 @gmail.com.
Awesome. So oh, I see. I just all right. So when you come in, make sure you arrive 10 to 15 minutes early. Just nice. Bring your resume if you have one. Not required, but it's nice to see how we can relate. And my name is Charlie Graney. Great talking to you, and I can't wait to see you in 2 days.
All right, perfect.
Beautiful. Let me stop you guys there. Kevin, if you don't mind, can you come out with me and put it on speakerphone? Thank you. It's 4:45, so I just want to quick huddle. We'll wrap up and get you guys out of here.